live.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Sarah, you can take it from here.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Design Nuances educational series. Today we have with us Professor Mohit and Mr. Azad Ali. So they're going to be accompanying us in today's topic of forensics in design. But before we start off with that, I'll just go over the objectives of this series itself so you can understand what you need to take away. So firstly, we want to look at the nuances of something new and innovative that's come up in the field of design, architecture, or fashion. And the speaker today will help you understand a new aspect which you may not have considered before. Next, we will get introduced to a school today. Today we have the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and we'll understand their design purpose and their approach to teaching. Third, we'll have the interaction with our expert for the day, which is Sir Mohit. So you can ask him questions and he will be sharing as much as he can. So we will start off with a quick introduction of Professor Mohit. He is a heritage conservation enthusiast and he believes in the value of our history. And he has almost a decade-long experience with dealing with governmental, non-governmental, and academic bodies. And he mostly works in India with like huge range projects that involve planning, implementation, and advocacy. And he's a very well accoladed professor as well. He is a recipient of the Charles Wallace India Trust Fellowship for the year 2012 and the Global Cultural Leadership Fellow in the year 2018. And he's currently on the panel of expert change management for European Capital of Culture. So Professor Mohit believes in the notion that culture itself can be the catalyst for social and economic development. So he believes in using culture as a kind of way to make a city or historic cities move with the times. So this is clearly seen in his work with the Aga Khan Trust for Culture Historic Cities program, STENIS. He has worked with multiple places like NIUA, World Bank, Cities Alliance Technical Assistance, World Monument Fund, Archaeological Survey of India, National Culture Fund, to name a few. And he has collaborated with various educational institutions. Today he is here with us from Jindal School of Architecture. And he wants to bridge the gap between education and the practice and the community using creative exercises. Before we have a talk from Professor Mohit, we will have a quick introduction of Jindal School of Art and Architecture by Mr. Ali. And if you want to access information about the school or you want to apply to the school, the links will be provided in the description as well as on DQH. So I will now hand it over to Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, DQ team, for providing this opportunity to come and interact with these students and give them the introduction about the Jindal School of Art and Architecture. We are a part of OP Jindal Global University, Jindal School of Art and Architecture, established in 2018 with one program in the architecture we call BARC, and later on we have started adding the multiple courses under the feather of Jindal School of Art and Architecture. So currently, the school running 3 design specializations and one very innovative architecture program. We call it BA Honors, Built Environmental Studies, which is in collaboration with the University of Adelaide. So this is also an opportunity for all those who are looking for an architecture career, but they might not have the physics, chemistry, math as required by the Council of Architecture. So you may choose this program where you study 3 years at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and you study the 4th year at the University of Adelaide, and you get 2 more years to study at the University of Adelaide to complete your master's in architecture. Completing 3 years in the University of Adelaide, you will get 3-year stay-back option, which facilitates you to get a PR in Australia. You also have the opportunity to take exit after studying 1 year in Australia and come back to India and register with the Council of Architecture. The Council of Architecture accepts the undergraduate degree from the University of Adelaide. So in a calculation, if you see you complete your BArch and MArch within 6 years, and if you opt for a 4th year at the University of Adelaide, you're completing your bachelor's degree in architecture in just 4 years, and you're good to go to practice all across the country. And if you complete your MArch from the University of Adelaide, you're very much eligible to practice in New Zealand, Switzerland, Australia, and some other, including India and some other countries as well. So for the admission in the Bachelor of Architecture program, you must need to score minimum 100 marks in NATA. If you've already done it, if you already have 100 plus score, feel free to apply. The applications will be closing on 15th of June, as our first counseling is scheduled on 17th of June for 20 seats. So since we have only 40 seats, we have divided this into 2 parts. We'll do first counseling on 17 June for 20 seats, and later on, after the 3rd NATA, we'll do the last counseling. So if the seats are full, we will not be waiting for the NATA 3rd round result. But if the seats are available, we will open up the application after 3rd NATA result. So feel free to get in touch. All the informations are there on the DQ Lab, DQ Edge. And the fee for this residential program is 4 lakh, the tuition fee per year, and 2,92,500, which is the hostel fee, which includes all the amenities, your triple sharing, very huge rooms, attached washroom, 24/7 AC, Wi-Fi, air condition, laundry facilities, 4-time meal, health services. We have a well-established hospital in the campus. We have all the indoor and outdoor sports activities, including the Olympic-sized swimming pool, football, hockey, cricket, and polo. We have a polo ground where we train our students on the horse riding. So everything is included in 2,92,500, a world-class institution which caters all the best top faculty members coming from the world's institution, starting from Harvard to Oxford, Cornell, UC Berkeley, MIT, Cambridge, NYC. So one of the finest faculty pool, if you're looking forward, you will get at Jindal School of Art and Architecture. We are institution of eminence, so be part of the bestest 40 students joining the Bachelor of Architecture program this year. So looking forward to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Once again, to remind everyone, the link will be to the school applications for the year 2023 is in the description, as well as on DQ Labs. We will now continue with the lecture by Professor Mohit. The topic is Forensic by Design. Professor Mohit, please take over.
Hi, good morning, all of you. Thank you, DQ Labs, for having this such wonderful opportunity of experience and sharing with the students. So I'll just switch on to my presentation. So if you can enable me to share my screen, please.
Yeah, it's enabled.
Okay. So just let me share. So is my presentation visible?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, good morning. So as
I'm sorry, your presentation is not available, not visible.
It's
right
not
now.
open, it's just a folder is visible.
Yeah.
just wait. It should have been. Is it visible now?
No, you may have to stop screen share
Okay.
and try.
Then reshare the entire window.
Yeah, I did that too. Just a second. Entire screen. Window. Now is it visible?
Yes.
Now you can put it on presentation mode.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good morning, all of you. So, as a very interesting topic of today is forensic by design. So, forensic, we all have been come to our terms for this very interesting terms in various aspects. I'm not primarily with the design, but that's our new approach, what we take forward. So, forensic by design framework, which is largely guided by, by the forensic sciences. So where we know in terms of we tend to collect data, preserve and analyze towards the recreation of an event. So as you do in terms of forensic sciences, the similar framework has now been kind of taken over in the design aspect and the, or the design field, both at the practice and the academic level as well. So primarily, you tend to understand the building, reverse engineer it, analyze it, and then recreate and understand how it was created, and then maybe at some point of time recreate also. So, Forensic by Design framework at Jindal School of Art and Architecture aims at reverse engineering different layers of the building. It engages students to understand the tools, methods, and techniques that a designer employs in close collaboration. So, for to brief you a bit how it is kind of taken from practice to the academia, I would like to interestingly share a very a project which actually Jindal School of Art and Architecture did in collaboration with the design organization called ADAPT. The project was conservation of an Epiphany church. So this was the kind of a project which was taken as a JSA part of externship where students go to kind of collaborate and work with industry partners outside. And this was a project which was happened in a peri-urban area of Gurgaon, Haryana. So this church, so we try to understand, and the students along with us try to understand how to preserve this church, and then wherein the mechanism of forensic comes into the picture. So to understand a building, to preserve a building, we need to understand how it was made, the timeline of how it was made. So we tend to understand the phase of the building. So if you see in red, the phase which is the 1862, in which this part of the church was built, and the other phase was 1942, in which the other part of the church was built. So primarily back into 2021, this church got had some problems with the seepage in the roof, and then the church committee also kind of approached this organization called ADAPT, and then we also collaborated with them in few exercises. The students were the part of those exercises. So coming back to our forensic by design approach, so it starts with understanding and decoding of the site. So you dug up the site, you understand what was the original ground level, you come to the existing ground level, and that's how so you go deep beyond the event of what actually building was originally. So this is how you start with decoding of a site. uh, then you primarily comes on to the problem of how the roof was in problem. So then you understand the form and the structure of a building. So for example, in that case, if you would need to understand how a roof to repair a roof, you also need to understand how the roof was made. So this is how, this is a schematic sketch which was developed, which says, oh, this is the part of the roof, the upper layer is the tile layer, beneath layer which is the planks layer which is in brown, and the the parallel lines which are called purlins were beneath that, and below that the cross truss which you can see in the picture on the left was also the part of the whole build structure. So you also tend to now decode the building at every layer. So you decoded the site and you decoded the form and the structure of the building. What's next? So then we try to decode. So few pictures of how the decoding was done. Some other pictures of how the roof was being made after it was decoded, and that's the final picture of how the roof was kind of put into the place. So then you also tend to understand and go beyond what actually the building is made of. So what kind of bricks they are made of. So it at times you tend to kind of reuse those bricks, which is the part of the sustainable development goals. You also try to integrate new materials. So all these parts of are the actually essence of forensic by design framework, which is actually put into the practice. So similar picture talks about how a molding which was made in plaster was beneath different layers of the cement plaster which existed in the buildings. Photograph on my right extreme is, the photograph of a 19th century Victorian tile which was beneath the cement layer of the floor. So to revive those buildings, we need to understand the layers beneath, and that's how forensic by design frameworks helps in understanding and decoding the building as per se, and then preserving it to its newer forms. So similarly, few more pictures how, even to the build form to very nuanced things like, a cleaning of the nails, of reviving the old nails, reviving the old door handles and knobs, all came into the picture of this framework. And this is how till date this church looks like. So JSA was privileged to collaborate with the church committee and with the team adapt in this project, primarily reviving this church. So we had a few kind of contribution in community building as well. So this is the larger part where we, as a part of our forensic pedagogy, we collaborate with organizations outside and communities outside. But since you will be entering the foundation year, I would be very more interested in sharing with you what we do at the foundation level, which is the first year of the building. And that's how we train. Our pedagogy is about training the students even to this framework right from the foundation level. So this is how I'll just in couple of slides I'll just share how we kind of go towards a pedagogy of forensic by design at the foundation level. So primarily the framework is to understand a built work as an assembly of various interrelated components and practices. It actually understands also to a way to understand how a construction of a built work is put together. So maybe in your house, if you have been done some renovations, so you would be able to understand, oh, my place used to look like this before, but with the expansion of the family, or to other reasons, I need more space, I need some renovations. So if you plan your renovation, you need to understand the reason behind it, and you also need to understand the various other built practices which are involved in that kind of a renovation, like in the church building. So at the foundation level, we start from a very basic outcome of an exercise which we call object analysis. So primarily in this exercise, students actually tend to analyze an object. So for example, I'm a student at a foundation level who is coming to the forensic by design framework. So he or she analyzing so what is an object made of? Is it a MDF board? Is it a particle board? Is it a kind of a commercial board? How this object in person made of, and in totality how it is assembled? Is it assembled by screw? Is it assembled by gum? Is it assembled by rivets? How it, so they tend to analyze this first as a part of the understanding. So once they have analyzed, the next step is to discover that. And how they discover, I'll just show you with a small video which students have all. So this is all the students work which they tend to do at the foundation level. So just have a look at this video which I'll just play for you.
The material of the cabinet is mostly part of the board, and the side and the back panels are held together with screws and L clamps. The panels are also glued together to make the overall structure stronger. Before starting with the dismantling, we measure the dimensions of the cabinet. After that, the drawers were removed. We used a screwdriver to remove the screws which held the drawer channels to the inner sides of the cabinet. After removing those, we disconnected the panels of the cabinet and dismantled the cabinet box.
The upper surface of the side table was glued to the wooden boards, so we used a hammer and a chisel to separate them. The elements extracted were 47 small screws and 26 large screws, 24 washers, 1 keyhole, 2 drawer handles, 8 channels, and 9 screw bolts.
Dismantling the drawer desks was a task. The glue used to paste it together made it really difficult for us to detach the wooden blocks from each other. To make our task easier, we used a heat gun to melt the glue. but apparently it was a fail. Further, we used a chisel and a hammer to separate the wooden blocks from each other, and we could make it out. This is how our final result looks like, with all dismantled items.
Yeah. So, so this is our first kind of an exercise where we, ask students to, anticipate and finally discover an object. So, and then in incoming exercise, it talks about even now to recreate a new object. So as a part of an exercise, now you have analyzed the object, you have understood how it is made. Now please make a new object. So my next video, again a short one, will enable you to understand our next step. So as a part of this exercise, students were kind of very interested into develop a stool or a seating which don't have any kind of screws to it. So that's how they started with making a paper model out of it, and then kind of. So Azad would also like to add, maybe because we have a very interesting lab facilities which have all the equipments of and power tools to enable the students to make all these objects at one go. And we have been doing this in a very guided supervision with all safety measures in place. So that's how students of the first year this semester, the previous semester, sorry, did this exercise in developing the object. So that's how this was done. There were some other examples like this. So many students came on to doing a very different kinds of joineries as well as a part of this. So that's how a step one of a forensic from an object level is realized in the first half of the first semester. And then we also we also make them understand to make this, you also represent it. And to represent, it's not only about making drawings which are very complicated, but a drawing which my grandmother can make. So for example, students then tend to make a DIY of this object. So how many members are there, how many screws are there, how it is assembled. A step by step representation of this is then formulated. So if I take this to someone, he or she can quickly assemble this stool in one go. So these are few of the examples which we kind of. So as a part of the forensic by design framework, then we take to level 2. So level 2 is understanding a bigger construction exercise or a bigger object. So the part of the second, as a part of the first semester, the students were very interested in making a mini house. So, and by mini house we mean, if some of you have been involved in seeing how of a house is built, so we followed the similar practices on a very smaller scale. So the video next will actually show you step by step process of how this exercise was realized.
Mohit, can you share this sound as well?
Sorry, Azad?
Share the sound. Some students are not able to hear the sound.
Oh, just a second.
So in the Zoom panel,
Okay.
Click on more and then share sound.
Okay, just a second.
Or
I'll click on more. I think let me explain it. That's fine. Let me explain it side by side.
no. Once you're sharing your screen, you'll get the option.
I'll share the screen again, and then I'll do a share. Okay.
Now you can click on more.
Okay. But it says stop incoming video.
Put it on full screen. or presentation mode. Yeah. Now, do you see the option to share sound? No, no, no.
No. Anyway, let me explain them.
No,
That's
this is
fine. If
fine.
it's
This
not
is fine.
coming onto the
Continue. Yeah.
screen, some issue. So this is how students were then developing a site as per se. So a box was developed in which a construction site was made. So this is how a process of compressing the land was done, um, and that's the students kind of soaking their bricks, and for the construction they are kind of turning the columns to the shape. So if some of you have actually seen how a house is made, this is how it is actually made. So you will see, so this is how they excavated the land, and then this now they will start pouring in the cement mix to formulate the base, and construction of columns is being done. So now they're preparing the base for the upper part, or the superstructure, which we call. Yes. So that's how it looks like. Okay. So just quickly telling you, so this was actually the work in progress which they did, and this is how the house was made. So I just didn't want you to kind of come up to the final picture, because then it will takes the whole kind of understanding of the process of how it was made. So this then turns into a mini house as per se. So this is again the part of our forensic by design framework, where we tend to make them understand actually how the different layers of the building work together in tandem with each other. So this kind of pedagogy is developed in our first semester as per se, uh, and then we move on to a more level 3 of the exercise or the framework, where we actually train them to understand uh, the build structure, the real build structure. So level 1 is about about the object. Level 2 talks about understanding a building, but a very smaller scale. But level 3 is actually understanding a bigger scale of the building. And what we have is in front of is actually primarily the building of Jindal School and Art and Architecture. Students actually analyzed their mess area this semester to understand how the building works. So with our experience of over the years, we have kind of conceptualized with all the scholarly works which have been done within the field of design and frameworks. So there are the 6 layers on which the building is being made. So there's a site layer, it's a form layer, it's a structure layer, it's a stuff layer, it's a space layer, and it's a services layer. So this is a very strong method which the design school believes in, and that's how we tend to train students as well. So if we have given them a method for them to understand how a building is made, they can make any building irrespective of a building or an object, or even a space in a virtual environment. As we have this immersive virtual environment course now, based if we have base understanding of how these 6 layers work. So these are the few examples. Students tend to make some models of how the representation of this T3 and the T4 mesh, which we have called T1, T2, and T3 blocks. So the student made few very interesting drawings. So this is a very comprehensive field work which they did of understanding how a site works in tandem to the building as well. So if the photograph on the left talks about the gardens, and how their students documented at a very, so this is a site recording actually, what we call them. So on my right, some notes from the students' diaries which talks about how the gardens are placed, what kind of species are there, and switching on to how the space looks like is, so if we talk about a mess area within our building, so this is the space of a mess area. We have a kitchen area, we have a buffet area, but how these spaces are working together both horizontally and vertically as well. So all these understanding of how building works also comes from the people and the use of the people and the use of the space by the people. So students very interestingly tend to take very comprehensive one-to-one conversations with the staff, with the faculty, with the students, to understand how they are using the space, how they are kind of understanding how the space is built, how it is based on the user needs, and the different agents of the built environment, contractors, architects. So they have this opportunity. So with Jindal, the kind of spaces we have, we don't have to go anywhere to understand how it works. So we have already very interesting spaces within our campus, which help them understand all the nuances of the build structure. So again, the understanding of how a floor is made, how it is being laid, how a ceiling is made, how it is being laid. So all these understandings from to the walls, to the floors, to the even to the minute details on the left, like how a window latch works, all comes from within the vicinity of the building. So this is another layer which students decoded, is the form and the structure layer, where they tend to understand how a structure is being laid one top of the other. So what are the columns, how they are being laid one top of the other. So some of the drawings which students were actually able to produce, again, how this interesting roof was made, and not only the evolution of the roof, but also why it was made the way it is. Also the students are trained. So it's a very kind of comprehensive but a very interesting exercise with students and the faculty from the other institutes which we invite to our as our external reviewers appreciated the kind of work what we are doing. So again, another layer, students help went to decoding the services layer, how the plumbing lines are being kind of laid, how they work with the form layer of the wall, what are the issues with it. So few some of the pictures from the students work, when they tend to kind of interact with all the building layers. So I'll also quickly take you through the representation uh, of what students do. So these were, so that was a step one, where we kind of do a very photographic recording. But there is another nuance to it, which we call as so we as a designers also has to comply with various kind of drawings which we need to make. So the students are also trained to do a very professional representation of what and how it needs to be built. So this is the part of the students exercise of how a site, they were able to develop a site plan within the studio, a similar. So this all are the students work actually. And then when so this is how they tend to measure the site as is, and so that's what we call as built drawings of the site. So the students then able to understand what kind of site has a relation with this building. So if you see, there is a 6-meter wide road on both the sides, there is a reference library sitting within the garden, there is a ground floor mess, there is a kitchen area. So how they're interacting with one another, but how they're also interacting with the site. So that's how they transform their site notes to the actual design drawings, which are actually, if you see, these are the similar drawings which are the part of the professional set, so which what we call are the good for construction drawings. So just showing you some more examples of how intense the studio, or but interesting as well, taking on to the species of the plants, how what kind of plants are there, what how and why they are there is more important. um, Similarly, few examples making the drawings of the mess as well as is, then what we actually tend to make them. Another drawing by the students work which talks about how a furniture is laid, how a furniture works in collaboration with the doors, how furniture works in collaboration with the serving counters, how they work in collaboration with the dish landing areas, the entries and the exits, but the corridors outside as well. So few more examples by the students working on this mess area. Another drawing which talks about the floors, how the floors are laid, and even if they want to, so all these drawings make them understand what is actually on the top but the beneath as well. So this is how it looks like when you see it from the front, the interior elevations, but also very interestingly why they are there and why they are assembled together in a way it is also the part of the larger understanding of the exercise. So some few more elevations. um, we also touch about the services layers. If you see the pink arrows in black talks about the service lifts and entries and the exits, and how the lift works in tandem with the building. So I think I just wanted you to understand the forensic by design framework, which we take students across 2 semesters of the foundation years. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions now.
Thank you, Professor, for your lecture. Was very, it really helped me understand a new aspect of design. So, all the questions you can type it into the YouTube chat box, and there's no option of speaking directly. So I will be conveying your questions to our speaker. But before we get on to the student questions, I just wanted to get like an idea of how impactful is this method? Like, do you see a change in the way that students and professionals are approaching design?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for your very interesting question. Yes, so see, primarily, when we keep talking about of how we were trained as a professional, or not primarily as a professional, but how we were trained as the students. So it was only about the beautification. If you see, if you even, Sarah, if you remember your foundation years, it was actually mainly in talking about how a building looks like. But actually, if you, for any build structure or an object, you need to understand how it is being made, what are the assembly points of it, what are the break points of it. And it's a very kind of an scholarly work that we kind of replicate within our pedagogy. And it's been kind of making a huge impact within the design profession, primarily in the west, taking now over in India as well. And Jindal is taking spearheading this kind of a pedagogy, where we tend to make student, it's not only about what you see, it only about it's actually about beyond what you see. So if, for example, in our first exercise, we tend to understand you know how it is being made is very interestingly. So if I want to make that again, or if I want to understand, oh, how this thing was made, for me to understand, to rebuild, or even to make a new build framework, I need to understand how things are being done. So we tend to train our students primarily a holistic comprehension in the first year. But very interestingly, our progression years, which are the after the foundation, we tend to touch all these layers in quite detail. So our second year is stuff and space, our third year is form and structure, our fourth year is services, and then the final capstone project, where students again, once they are kind of trained in understanding how a building is made. So we don't train them to make hospital, we don't train them to make a particular building, but we give them a method, so they can are trained to make any building wherever they go, or any object in a real environment or in a virtual environment. So it's actually making a very interesting impact, where we also had our external review last week, where the reviewer had a very kind of interesting impression, where they say, our own students don't know this till the third year. So that's how, I mean, and then when I went to an external review yesterday, so some of the professors were saying we are hearing about very interesting works from the school, and we want you also to help us in figuring the way out how it should be done. So similarly, as we say, it's a ripple effect. If you kind of try and make new interesting pedagogies work, this will also change the newer landscape of the academia as well.
Yeah, I was seeing the works that you were showing, and I'm doing that now in my third year. So, like that understanding of material, it was really nice to see that it's being introduced so young. So, in with reference to the first project that you showed, the chapel reconstruction, I wanted to know if there was any like cultural or community repercussions that you faced. Because the heritage projects that I've worked on, we've always had to convince the people before we begin the project.
Yeah, so Sarah, primarily, the chapel project was a part of the practicum which the senior batches did with us. So that was
Okay.
the first thing. And yes, they were not so what we actually train our students. So, we don't train our students that I am the designer. This is not the approach what we take and train our students. We tend to take an approach which is very participatory. See, designer, what we train is the bridge between a community, in the chapel case, the community and the client, which was the church committee. So in terms of repercussions, they were not, because it was very participatory. All the things were very consultative with the community and the committee. But yes, there were, a client is a client. There are certain kind of challenges you face. Oh no, we don't want to spend so much of money, please give us some alternatives. So but then we have to also make a threshold where neither, and because it's a very interesting conservation project, so we didn't wanted to compromise on what actually international norms follow and what actually client wants. So we have to make a balance between the two at various occasions when we were trying to do doing some kind of works with the plaster, or we're trying to, so we have to convince them. So that's how we train our students to negotiate in in the coming semesters as well. So when I say we train our students in the building layers in detail, so we again train them not only the design aspect of it but the negotiation aspect of it. So all our projects in our progressive semesters are all live projects. That's what we believe. It's a real client. So students actually negotiate with the real client what they want to build. And it has, so it doesn't only have site constraint, design constraints, bylaws constraint, but it also introduces cost constraints by the site. Or uh, client comes up with very interesting idea. Oh, I have seen this a hotel here which is very baroque, or which is very classical. I want the same. So we train our students. I mean, client is the person who is paying the money. I mean, a designer aspect should a bridge between what client wants and how to deliver this in all its essence. So the sole idea of I am the designer is not at Jindal.
That's a very refreshing concept. Since you're a heritage conservation architect, right? So I recently went for a Council of Architecture Heritage Awards, like a competition, and a lot of the documentation that I saw over there, there is a certain heritage landscape that exists, and there is a new technology that's being used to like either save that or remake that so that it's more useful. So I wanted to know your opinion on like using new technology, or should you stick to the old and proven method of construction?
See, we are moving in a very different kind of a world, and with the kind of conflicts we are facing, across the world, and I would say, Sarah, interestingly, it's not a newer technology. I used a technology back when I was working with Aga Khan Trust for Culture back in 2008 and 9, where there was and the Leica is what they do is kind of do a 3D laser scanning of every building what they are kind of commissioned. So there is a 3D. So once you know what is happening across the world in terms of war. So if we have those records with us, and we have actually scanned our building, we have the database in our archives, we can actually reconstruct it at any point of time, if we actually want to. And that's how an approach of an heritage professional is. Do they want to make it new, or do they want to to build it as is was? So the newer technologies we are making, and with our labs within JSAA, which have motion capture, AR VR thought processes in place. So we are training students to adapt to newer technologies. But yes, we can't say that techniques like what we are using as a kind of a forensic to understanding, analyzing, these are the proven methods. So we train them gradually towards that progression. So they should have the best of the both worlds, where they also able to understand, so there are tools which are very analytical, and the more time you spend working with the buildings, making your site notes as they are done in real time projects. So but they also need to understand what is happening across the globe as well. So yes, we actually introduce them to both levels of things.
So do you expose them to both and like choose either this or that, or do you blend both?
No, we tend to blend both. So primarily in the last exercise, so due to kind of very heavy videos, I couldn't able to share that, because but there was towards the end of the building, they actually made a prototype of the issue what they kind of developed within the building.
Okay.
So and then they did it in in a very kind of motion capture kind of a way, and then they tend to and then they also tend to again the process was very consultative. It is not student feel is an issue. Student has to understand what the issue the building has, the user has, the various other stakeholders have, and then they tend to kind of take it forward. So yes, it has to be the blend of both always.
Okay. Once again, I encourage all the viewers to please ask questions. We have an expert on the panel, and this is your chance to get an opinion or get some kind of guidance on it.
Sure. In the meantime, Azad, maybe if you're available, um, Azad, are you available?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much.
So what you spoke about right in the beginning was about the relationship that Jindal has with Adelaide, right, for the program. It's a very interesting program. I thought maybe we could understand a little more about that. Um, so how does this association work? I mean, is it an official or how is it that doing architecture in Australia is recognized in India as well? How does
Yes.
that work? Yeah,
So just allow me to share the screen, Dion.
yeah, you can share.
So this collaboration that we had, basically we call it just hold on. So if you see here, this is the Council of Architecture website. And the Schedule 14 talks about the international institutions and their degrees accepted in India for the license purpose, right? So now moving to the international foreign qualifications. If you see here, the undergraduate qualification from the University of Adelaide is accepted to get the license by the Council of Architecture to practice in India. So there are plenty of institutions. You talk about University of Melbourne, then South Wales, then there are institutions in Germany, Iran, Switzerland, UK, Ukraine, Then there are master's degree. USA has a long list. Yeah. You see. Then there are master's degree and doctorate degree from different institutions across the world. So all these qualifications are basically accepted by the Council of Architecture to provide the license to the students. Apart from anywhere across the world except India, they do not have a eligibility criteria which says that PCM is mandatory, or the duration of the architecture program is 5 years. It's nowhere except in India. When you go to Australia, UK, and other countries, the undergraduate degree, they have different nomenclature. Here in Jindal, the nomenclature. So before I talk about few more seconds about the course, I just wanted to answer your question. The Council of Architecture accepts this qualification either at undergraduate level or at the master's level to provide the license. All right, Dion?
Fantastic. That's very interesting.
Yes. So now moving ahead, what exactly the course and everything, what exactly all this, how all this model works basically. If you see here, allow me to share once more, and then it will give you a better idea. So if you see here, this program itself, we call it a Jindal Adelaide Architecture Pathway. This program allows you, whether you are from BCM background or you're not, whatever subjects you have at 10+2 level, this does not require NATA. Only if you are a PCM student and you have appeared in NATA exam, you have 100+ NATA score, and you prefer to join this program. So at the end, so you need to study 3 years in India, and then 4th year at the University of Adelaide. All right. If you see this line that I highlighted here, you will get a degree. You get 2 qualifications by that time once you complete the 4th year at the University of Adelaide. One, you get Bachelor of Architecture Design from the University of Adelaide, and you also get BA Honors Built Environmental Studies from OP Jindal Global University. Our degree is recognized by the UGC. The degree, Bachelor of Architectural Design, is approved by the Council of Architecture. Upon the satisfactory completion of the 4th year of studies, students will receive their Bachelor of Architecture Design and Bachelor of Built Environment from OP Jindal. Students will then proceed to the 2-year Professional Masters of Architecture degree program at the University of Adelaide for completion of professional graduate degree in architecture. Now, at the undergraduate level as well as the postgraduate level, both the qualifications are accepted by the Council of Architecture. This program facilitates you and makes you eligible to register in India, in Australia, in New Zealand, and all other Commonwealth countries through the reciprocal agreement that the Council of Architecture and the University of Adelaide and the councils of the particular countries they have signed. So graduating students will be eligible for minimum 3-year post-study work visa in Australia as well. So technically you study 3 years and you work 3 years. So you make it a complete 6 years living in the Australian land. And that makes you eligible to apply for a permanent residency. The curriculum, which is blend of architectural education and expired across the India and Australia. So you study here for 3 years, and then automatically the admission process does not gives you liberty. Either you join Bachelor of Architecture program or 5-year, or you join the Jindal Adelaide pathway. Now, later is not possible. You won't be able to move it. So you will have opportunity to be part of Deloitte Academy of Studies at the University of Adelaide, which is one of the most respected academy for the architecture. Moving ahead, at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, the first 3 years, the fee for the tuition is 4.5 lakh per year, and the hostel is separate. 4th year at the Adelaide, after the 20% scholarship, which is in our agreement, you just need to pay 15.82 lakh per year. For the final year in the University of Adelaide, you just need to pay 15.82 lakh. And for another 5th and 6th year, the fee will be same, 15.82 per year. After 20% scholarship. To be eligible for 20% scholarship, one must have to score 5.5 CGPA in Jindal. If you're looking for 30% scholarship, you should have more than 6.5 CGPA. And this is an automated process. This is part of our MOU with the University of Adelaide. You don't have to apply or you don't have to fight for this. You understand? So, for an example, you're completing your 4th year at the University of Adelaide and you entered into the master's program, you can again apply for a further scholarship, being the student of the University of Adelaide. So there are multiple pre-announced and very old scholarship policies by the University of Adelaide, because it's a public university. Many scholarships are available. Yeah. So this is how the program works. So if you see here, you can visit the websites, multiple websites that I have mentioned here. We have officially introduced this program yesterday at the Hotel Taj Mahal, and very soon you will see everywhere in the media. The application forms are now open. If anybody looking forward to apply for this program, they can apply now. So this is the undergraduate degree by the University of Adelaide, Bachelor of Architecture Design. Yeah.
Interesting. And so it's interesting that you say even the NATA exam is not required. Or is the NATA required?
NATA is not required.
Okay.
PCM is not required.
Okay. Okay.
To register for this program, you must need to either you should have a SAT or ACT or Jindal Creative Aptitude Test, our own exam, or NATA, whatever. So everything is accepted.
Nice.
So this is the Master of Architecture program in the Landscape Architecture at the Council of the University of Adelaide. Hope this helps.
Fantastic. That was very interesting, Azad. So are you all going to be talking about this either in Bangalore or?
Yes. So we are coming to Bangalore on 11th. At 10 o'clock, we will be meeting all the parents and the students who have shown the interest in our architecture program, and all the DQ lab that we are coming across to meet them. We will be announcing this program and talking in detail about this, the fee structure, what are the possibilities, and how this model is going to help you, the comparative analysis with the BARC in India, as well as this 4-year BARC program in the University of Adelaide. So looking forward to see you all the students and the parents there in the Bangalore.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So Sarah, back to you to end this. We are almost out of time. So Sarah, you can end this.
Okay. First of all, thank you to Professor Mohit and Mr. Azad for being here with us today. And thanks to DQ Labs for organizing this for the students. I hope it was helpful. And it was a really new and interesting perspective on how you can approach design. And considering that I'm still going to college, I can see that the level, like the bar is being raised with this program. And it looks it honestly looks like the perfect ideal design approach right now, with the in-depth understanding and how you've tailored the program for the students, right? Thanks to DQ Labs for organizing this, and thank you to Dion sir as well for being here with me today and for this opportunity to host the program.
Thank you so much.
If there are any questions, or if you would like to approach the university, we have the links in the description box, and they'll be available on DQ Edge as well.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Okay.